Well, I posted a video the other day and it got quite a few views pretty quickly. So I decided I was going to do a follow-up video talking about pretty much this car that I made the video with. This is a Radioshack brand propulse. Its brother is the Megatech megapro. Its cousin, if you will, is the HPI Mini Recon. The reason I'm calling it a cousin is because there are some parts that are different. But for the most part, they're nothing that you're going to notice or that won't be interchangeable. The Radioshack versions were available quite a while ago. I got this one as a reconditioned version on eBay for $54 with free shipping, ready to run with a 1400 milliamp hour battery pack. It has a 27 megahertz AM radio system. And pretty much anything you read about any of these three cars pretty much goes hand in hand with the other. The only differences, say, between this and the Mini Recon is the top plate is different. Because where this one has a cutout to allow clearance for the tie rod here to fit, they just kind of flared it up on the version I was comparing it to. The spur gear is a little better sealed. There's an opening on this side of the spur gear, which I'll explain why that's there here in a second. The other difference is the chassis. This one has a punch-out plate here on the bottom, whereas the Mini Recon does not. And the motor mount is different. It uses those two screws that you are now looking at on the bottom for the mounting plate. The Mini Recon seems to use a system a lot more similar to an RC18, and this one has a aluminum plate right there that has one bolt that stays stationary, and then you just kind of move it in an arc away from the speed or spur gear to change the mesh. But the purpose of that bottom plate and the that's on the bottom of the chassis that's removable, and the open spur gear location there, is so that you can mount a second engine in this. Because when these first came out, there wasn't really any brushless systems available that were cheap. Now we're down to where, for pretty much the value of this car, for what I have in this car, I can put a pretty decent brushless system in this. But back then, brushless wasn't common, and it just wasn't cheap for the most part. The only thing, if you want to run the dual motor setup, you have to run the proprietary battery, where you have a 4-cell saddle, or 6-cell, but 6-cell saddle pack, where 4 cells are placed on this side in between the motor and the front of the chassis here, and then a second pair goes in between the motor and the servo. The other 2 cells go over there, which looks kind of goofy, but it worked, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't bother just getting this car by itself, because they do have them by themselves in the reconditioned state for a little bit cheaper without a battery pack. But I wanted the proprietary battery pack so I could try the twin engine setup just for giggles. And I ordered at the time. The proprietary battery packs for this are actually getting kind of expensive for what they are. You can almost buy one from cheapbatteries.com cheaper, where they assemble the pack to your custom specs. Cheaper than what you can buy the proprietaries for these. They're getting to where they're, I think the cheapest I've seen was $23 shipped. So I'm not necessarily going to recommend picking those up. But if you don't do the twin engine setup, you can run a normal 2/3, a shotgun style pack, or side-by-side pack, or I think they call it an odd 1-cell pack or something like that. Basically, where it's a shotgun 6-cell with an odd 7-cell on the end, it should also fit from what I've been told. I can't verify that one because I don't have one, but should fit. The speed control is kind of interesting because it actually has a sport and race mode. Sport mode has reverse. When you flip it into race mode, it eliminates reverse. And the speed control is the exact same one you see in the Mini Recon. The only difference is the sticker. I'm not positive this uses the same motor as the Mini Recon, but I wouldn't be surprised. And the gearing might actually be a little different in the Mini Recon. But for the most part, all the other items fit. The only real problem that I don't care about the stock setup with the fixed plastic links is that this car actually has a little bit of toe out. Don't know if you'll be able to see it there, which I know is not helping the twitchiness of the car. It's got to be making it a little worse to drive than it needs to be. Gotta be. But pretty much all the other problems with this can be looked at on most of the Mini Recon stuff, and there is still plenty of information available on these and the megapros. About the other reason why I went with the battery pack combo auction was the fact that this uses a mini Tamiya plug. They're not quite as common, so if you just go and buy a battery pack, you're probably going to have to switch either the end on the ESC or switch the ends on the battery pack, or both, or whatever you decide to end up doing. But for the most part, I'm having a very fun time with this little car. The ball diffs can be kind of annoying if you're not used to having something with ball diffs. I've had several on-road cars with ball diffs, so I'm kind of used to having to adjust them, take them apart and clean them out, or clean them up, re-grease/oil them, and then put them back together. So far this one hasn't been really frustrating, or annoying. But you got to make sure that you keep it adjusted. If not, you'll end up burning it up. That's where a lot of people say they've melted components in the differentials, generally because they ran it loose and there was actually enough slippage and friction to produce enough heat to actually melt the plastics. Sorry about that. But so far the only breakage I've really had, if you want to call it breakage, is with the servo. It actually skipped a few teeth after a really bad wreck. I was running off-road, was thinking I was going to turn, wasn't really paying attention to where the car was going. It hit a big bump, got airborne, had about 7 to 8 inches worth of air, and I'd been planning on turning, had the wheels cocked, and landed nose first with the wheels turned, and it kind of jammed the wheels the opposite direction of where I was planning on turning, and made the servo skip a few teeth. I don't think it stripped them out because it's still functional and still turning, but definitely made them skip teeth because I had to take the servo out, take the servo saver off, and then recenter it. So a servo upgrade might be recommended after, well, sometime in the future if you plan on running it real hard. So far that's been the only thing. One thing I've seen on a lot of people complain about on the Mini Recon is the battery mount. They didn't use post with an eyelet, they used screws, which is kind of annoying in a way, but it does allow you a better selection on battery packs. You could go with a much thicker pack if you wanted to do that, or wanted to, because of this, because all you got to do is put a longer screw in. And a lot of people are saying that they're really hard to remove the clips on, which I agree. The simple solution, in my opinion, is to just take a zip tie, like a lot of people do for body clips, and just put it on your clip. It's slip it around there, tighten it up, and it moves the pretty much your grabbing surface farther away so that you don't have to fiddle with it too much. It also gives you something firmer to grab a hold of to pop them loose. But so far it's worked quite well for me. If the views keep coming like they did or have been over the weekend, I'm probably going to end up making some more videos of this. I'm definitely going to make a video of the twin engine setup running in this, because all the videos I've seen where everybody's been running the twin engines, I don't think it's really showed off the abilities. Because one of the main one of the main things that kind of holds this car back in a lot of ways are the tires. These are an all-terrain tread that they had and came with, and I do think that the name all-terrain is suiting for them, because like a true all-terrain tire, they don't do anything great, but they do well on just about anything. Probably the thing that they do the worst on is a hard packed surface or concrete or asphalt, because it tends to get a little slick and you end up sliding a lot. But on dirt, they do actually pretty well. On gravel, they do pretty well, but they don't do great. So that would be one thing I'm probably going to look into upgrading. The nice thing is this will use RC18 rims, tires, mini T rear rims and tires, as well as the HPI mini recon wheels and tires, and lots and lots and lots of other things. So I'm probably going to try some different interesting combinations. With the parts compatibility available on these, I'm probably going to end up doing quite a few upgrades just for durability's sake. But I'm probably not going to do anything other than motor upgrades and tire and wheel upgrades until stuff starts to break. Supposedly the weak link on these is the differentials and the stock axles. But I'll let you know if I actually have anything else break. But if nothing else, food for thought. Might look into these if you like the idea of the mini recon, but don't really want to spend quite that much money on it, especially if you're not sure 1/18 scales for you. That was my main drawback. I wasn't sure how much I was going to actually use this car, because it is quite a bit smaller than anything else I've ever owned. As far as running in grass, at least in its present state, it ain't going to happen unless you're on a golf course. But for reference, this is my 1/18 or 1/16 scale ZD racing car. The tires are tiny in comparison. The wheelbase is quite a bit shorter. And just general overall height is quite a bit lower, and you're not getting enough light, I don't think, to actually be able to see that. But just in general, it's a lot smaller, and the ZD racing car is a lot beefier, but it has to be, because it is pretty dang strong, or pretty dang heavy, really, in comparison. But we'll see how things run. If there's anything particular you want to see me do or want to know or anything like that, let me know. Leave a comment, something like that, and I'll try to help you out best I can, or try to show you best I can. And that's about all I got to say. Toodles.